Hmm. Hey, you guys. Let's see. Checking on the tech. Microphone check. 1 2 1 2. How's it going, y'all? Happy Sunday. My hair's a little rock and roll today, which is fine. 'Cause so is my shirt. Anyway, hi. Let's do the thing that we do to kick these conversations off, where if you're live and you're with me and you can hear me, drop a thumbs up or give me a comment, and I will make sure that I can see your comments on my Facebook and the YouTube. There we go, live chat. And anyway, okay, let's get down to business. We are here to talk about your soul's desire and how to fulfill it in the physical world, right? Because it's one thing to have this deep soul desire for health or happiness or love or abundance, and it's a whole other thing to actually experience that through your physical senses, to actually touch your lover and spend your money and feel physically fine because your health is so on point, right? So we're going to talk about, oh, and by the way, any questions that you have, go ahead while you're thinking of them, while they're fresh for you, you can put those in the comments or in the chat. But I'm going to circle back at the end of this service, sermon part of the service, and get to your questions in just a little bit. So I'm not ignoring you when you type stuff in. I just am staying in my flow state as best as I can, to channel the divine downloads and stuff that have come through me for you in this conversation. So, all right. So again, if you're just joining me, I would love to hear or see rather in the comments that you can hear me. So let me know. Let me check the YouTube too. Okay, cool. All right, so desires fulfilled. First, thanks, John. I appreciate that. The first thing we're going to talk about is the difference between ego desires and soul desires. Might be a little elementary, right? It may be very obvious and self-explanatory. The desires of the ego tend to be very um, driven by things like safety, the need for significance, achievement, acquisitions, right? Being better than the competition, being seen as smarter than, or prettier than, or more successful than, right? Those are the drives and desires of the ego. And now, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, those get us so far and they are useful. Um, but then we tend to reach a certain point in our lives a lot of times where we're just not motivated by the things that we used to be anymore. And so what we start to tune into are the desires of our soul. So what are the soul desires? Generally speaking, soul desires are things like sustained happiness, knowing our true self, right? Knowing who we really are and why we're here. The soul desires deep connection. While the ego like wants to be seen and heard and goes about trying to prove its value and worth, the soul is more at ease and in a state of grace through that fully expressed um, personality or identity. In other words, the motivation is much more of a peaceful, graceful unfolding and allowing rather than this like anxious, hyper, stressed out way, right? And so the soul desires to be fully experienced and expressed and to know itself and to see itself in what we appear or what we think is another, right? So to be seen, to be held, to be heard at a soul level is something very different than the ego's need to be known, which is often a thing of around significance. Okay. So the difference between ego desires and soul desires, if you have any questions about that, leave me a comment and I'll circle back and dive more deeply into that and pull on that thread a little bit for you if you need me to. But I want to now talk about the secret to fulfilling, and I'm just looking down because I've got my notes. Girl likes her notes. But the secret to fulfilling our soul's desire, which little secret, little sidebar secret, when we fulfill our soul's desire, the needs of the ego sort of become met and or simultaneously less important. Some of them just sort of dissipate, dissolve, and get the heck out of there, right? So a lot of times the stuff that we thought we needed in order to survive or save face or whatever it might be, just go away. They just are not relevant anymore and they just don't matter. So that's good news, right? We don't have to invest all this energy in satisfying or meeting the needs of our ego or the desires, I'm using that word here, of the ego, because that will stress you out, burn you out, blow up relationships potentially, like just fuck your shit up, okay? And when we turn our attention to our soul's desire, or desires, right? There could be more than one that it's looking to experience and express. But when we turn our attention there, um, the lesser, and I use quote fingers because it's all good, y'all. There is no better than, less than, but the um, when I say lesser drives or desires, I simply mean those that will be essentially lacking in sustained fulfillment once we fulfill them. Okay, so the soul's, or rather, the ego's desires, another characteristic of them is oftentimes when we fulfill those desires, like there's 10 more that pop up. Okay. It's like the Hydra. You cut its head off and two more pop up. That's our ego. But so when we turn our attention to the soul's desire, our soul's desires, life seems so much more enjoyable and I don't want to use the word effortless because we're still showing up, getting up and getting after it every day. It's just got a whole different tint to it, right? The color of our experience is the opposite on the color wheel. Where it may have been like red and fiery and angry before, it's now sort of graceful and blissful and peaceful and enjoyable, and we get to flow through life rather than forcing our fucking selves to make it through another day or make it through another meeting or make it through another argument or make it through another whatever, right? So I digress. The secret to fulfilling our soul's desires in the world of form, in the physical world, is to recognize the distinction between what I said just a minute ago, the ego's desires and your soul's desires, and then B, recognize you are the motherfucking mechanism by which you get to, like, your whole purpose on being born a human being is that you get to, through the use of your head and your heart, your mind and your soul, you get to materialize or realize whatever you want. Okay. And we've been doing that since we were born, because we were born human beings, and being born a human being means we are by definition, right, created in the image of God. God is the creator. So therefore, we were born creators. And whether we realize it or not, we have been creating our perceived reality our entire lives. So the secret to fulfilling your soul's desire is to use what you got, what your mama gave you, right? So use your mind and your heart. Sorry, my hair is getting real fucking annoying actually, so I don't know what to do here. Maybe go the other way. I don't know. Fuck. I should have done something different with it. Whatever. Anyway, using our minds and our heart to materialize what it is that we desire. So, to reiterate, first, know the distinction between your ego desires and your soul desires. And that could be like, that might take a minute to determine that for yourself. It may be you need to self reflect, you need to sit down, put pen to paper, and dive into, well, yeah, what do I want? And the key question to ask yourself then, or maybe hire a coach or someone who can help extract this information from you, because it's already all in you. There's no one like me or anybody outside of you that is going to tell you what's true for you, other than everything that's true for you is already inside of you. So get a coach if you need one. Join a group if you like that, to help reveal your truth from within you to you, because the ego desires and the soul desires are two different ball games. And um, once you understand what your soul desire is, then using your mind and your heart, let me just talk about the heart for a minute. Um, okay, I got a lot of ways to describe our heart, or there's a lot going on in the heart, the human heart, big surprise, right? So I think of the heart as the seat of the soul. And the soul is like the where the subconscious realm is, or the metaphysical realm, which is the realm I'm ruler of, at least in my world. But so the subconscious mind dwells in the soul, and the soul is metaphorically in our hearts. And so when something gets planted, a seed, a thought, a desire, for example, gets planted into the heart, that's where when it's nurtured with more thoughts, with energy and emotions, things of that nature, um, that's what brings it to fruition. That's what causes the heart, is what ultimately causes us to experience in the physical world what we desire. And the desire always starts with a thought. Okay. Everything that exists now was once an idea in someone's mind. You and I and the world as we know it were once an idea in the mind of God. Okay. And because God literally can create whatever God desires, like boom, there it is. And we have to really start to believe, to remember, that's who you and I are as well. And we were given, as human beings, we were given the greatest gift, our mind and our speech. And when we use these two tools to develop the seed, the idea of that which is our highest desire, right? So, love, joy, peace, connection, happiness, fulfillment, abundance, beauty, all of these wonderful things, when we use our minds and our mouths, our words, to cultivate these seeds and really allow them to sink into the fertile soil of our hearts, where the soul simply says yes and yes and yes and yes to everything that you desire. When we use what our mama gave us, life is real fucking magical, y'all. Like we're talking like health, wealth, love, freedom, fulfillment. It's all here for us to enjoy. Okay. So our head and our heart are and our words. So mind and speech, the tools. Mind and soul, or head and heart. Hopefully this isn't too confusing. Hopefully it's clear what I'm saying when I say head, mind, and heart and soul, right? Um, the head and the heart are the secret to fulfilling your greatest desire. Okay, your deepest soul desire. Soul meaning like the that within you that is simply, literally here, embodied in a human body on planet Earth, the planet of manifestation, like here to experience and express all the goodness, all the magic, all the magnificence that life is. Okay. Now, there's something that's often in the way for most people, that prevents us from utilizing the gifts that we've been given and experiencing the life that is here for us. Okay. And that is our ignorance. We don't know our divinity. And by design, and I had last week I talked about this, it is by design, but we don't know our divinity. And instead, we are caught up, entangled in our identity. Shit, did I say identity a moment ago? We don't know our divinity. And instead, we're tangled up in our identity. And the identity is limited and quite frankly flawed. In fact, it's got something, our identity, every human on planet Earth, every one of us, by design, has something that I call or refer to as a soul wound. The wound is in the way of you knowing your divinity, your full fucking power to manifest and materialize whatever you desire. Okay, your soul wound is in the way, and it is also the way home, the way to the truth, the way to your greatest joy, healthiest body, most majestic relationship, and so on. So, woo, I put my minerals and my salt in there, and it's real salty water. Woo. Okay. The soul wound is in the way, and it is the way. How about that for a conundrum, y'all? But also by design, right? And so, like, I just laugh at this, and I can speak on it so easily, I guess, and playfully because I spent decades diving into it, discovering like a fucking spelunker, diving into the depths of the metaphysical, spiritual, or soul realm, the subconscious realm, right? And so knowing the role of the soul wound and having a reliable method to diagnose what that is for every person, and then a reliable, rapid method for then treating that wound so you can, in fact, know your divinity. Okay. And in knowing your divinity, one of the things that happens that absolutely needs to happen for us to manifest or materialize our desires and maintain it, because it's one thing to have something show up, y'all, that you've been manifesting with all the techniques that are out there. Oh my God, so many techniques, books, YouTube's all about various techniques, which I are useful. But if it's your wounded identity that is using the techniques to manifest, well, then that you, through your efforts, right, you may actually materialize that which you desire. But because you don't know your divinity and you're still operating from a wounded identity, that thing, that person, that money, that body, whatever it is that you were so like focused on, can dematerialize, go away, right? Just as easily. So knowing your divinity is the most important thing if you're into manifesting, y'all, or actually just living a hell of a good life. You actually do need to know your divinity to maintain the and sustain your freedom and your fulfillment. Okay. There's a resistance that is sort of um, an element, if you will, of our soul wound that is, again, a limiting aspect of our identity. And as long as that resistance is in play, then it's going to be like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, and you're going to have this like feeling like you're fucking failing, and then forcing yourself to try harder and do better and effort more. And, there's this whole like feeling like a fraud that is happening internally the whole time as well, um, because of this soul wound. And it veiling your true self, your divinity, and having you think that you're not good enough, you're a waste of time, you're undeserving. No matter how hard you try, you can never actually get what you want. Or when you do get what you want, it's going to go away. Okay. So those are some of the um, characteristics of the soul wound, which you and I and every single one of us have, that creates the chaos, y'all. Okay. So the next question you might be asking is, okay, great information, Colette. How do we get beyond this? And how can I get busy actually living fulfilled, free, happy? And the best, most direct answer I can give you is hit me up and either join my mastermind or come do a metaphysical makeover with me. Okay. Literally, that's my body of work that I have created, developed, and refined to be the most direct path to realizing your dreams or fulfilling your soul's desires in the physical world. Okay. In other words, to diagnosing and treating your soul wound so that you can know your divinity. And as such, right, tap into your creatorship, your God given gift as a creator. So once we get that, and by the way, that is not like you're probably not sitting around with your group of friends talking about how incredible it is and fun it is to be a creator, where everybody is like, and this week I created this, and like I've had this desire and now it's manifested and I'm fully expressed. Like, we're not talking about that. We're bitching and moaning and complaining about all kinds of shit that's going wrong and not happening in our lives and our relationships and our businesses and so on. And so what I'm suggesting here is a departure from the commonplace conversation, from the normal world, right, that you may be a part of. But what's normal right now is a lot of dissatisfaction, a lot of dis-ease, a lot of disappointment, a lot of destruction, right? And is that what you want to participate in? Is that what you want more of in your world? Or do you want to be delighted? Do you want to feel vital? Do you want to know unconditional love and sustainable happiness, even when the shitstorm that the world is in is happening all around you? Like you tell me, what do you want? And I'll tell you, the quickest way to get it is to know your divinity, right? And knowing your divinity requires us to also know our soul wound. Last week's conversation was about the lie and the truth. The truth is you are a divine creator, literally born to materialize and manifest your desires. And the lie is you think you're your body. You think you're your past. You think you're your roles or achievements in life. You think you're your ego, and you're not. But the soul wound is that veil, that filter that can't let you see the truth of who you are. And it's by design. So we don't go about trying to chop it out or fucking kill it off, or, some spiritual conversations are like the ego is bad. Your this aspect of your humanity is bad and you should deny it or kill it or something like that. And I just like, oh my God, that's just more ego stuff, right? That's just more of you and your wound, and they and their wounds thinking some part of you is imperfect. Okay. So we cannot heal ourselves at the level of consciousness or at the at the identity level. We cannot heal ourselves and free ourselves and enjoy the happiness that we're all seeking, right? If there were only one desire of the soul, it would to know our essential nature is happiness, right? Happiness, peace, love, right? And so we cannot know that as long as we are trying to heal ourselves or work on ourselves at the level of identity, right? We may be able to improve our identity, improve ourselves, but the fundamental flaw is we still think we are that self, that identity. Okay. And so, what I'm inviting you to is the absolute truth of who you are. And from that ultimate power, set yourself free and have whatever you desire. Okay. So, if you want to come play in this world with me, let me know. So let me just say something. So, a metaphysical makeover, which is my in-person VIP day, essentially, where you and I would get together and we will have already had a conversation to diagnose your soul wound. And again, in my observation and work with many um, like excellent therapists and coaches and all the healers in the world, the thing that gets overlooked oftentimes is that soul wound that is so specific and unique to you. And by the way, cruel as fuck. Okay. And it has everything to do with the deepest, darkest parts of you. Okay. So, and unless you have diagnosed what that is, and my guess is you have not, if you are still struggling, stressed, or suffering in some area of your life. Okay. And how do you know? Well, I mean, there's the obvious stuff, but then there's like the subtle stuff. The subtle suffering is you just don't feel vital. You just don't have an aliveness. You're sort of going through the motions. Maybe nothing is really wrong, but it's not all right either. Okay. So, so the super specific to you, like a fingerprint soul wound, has to be diagnosed. Okay. And then, and so in my metaphysical makeover, you and I will have done that. And I am an expert, maybe the like best in the world at diagnosing soul wounds. And And so once we've done that, then when we're together, we actually treat, right? So the metaphysical makeover is the treatment. I like to think of it as a facelift for your soul, right? So we lift you back up to your preconditioned state, the state of you that was before all of life happened. Okay, so it's like a resurrection of who you really are, your light, your love, your joy, your freedom, your fulfillment, your essence in one day. And from that point forward, um, everything changes because once you know who you are, once you touch your divinity and you're able to see the identity that you've been living by and how it's been running the show and ruining some shit, you can't unsee it, right? So you will never be the same again. And I stand by that. I know that's a big ass, bold statement, but I stand by it. Now, that doesn't mean like off you go, we high five, and you just live a fucking enchanted life. No, there's some integration that occurs. And I have a support system for that. In fact, it's a mastermind of sorts, meaning the people who are in this group together um, are at a high level of consciousness. They know what you know about their divinity and their identity, and are um, deliberately implementing tools that I provide as a metaphysician to um, to reshape, to mold and form your physical life, your physical body, your relationships, and everything else that is important to you. Using these tools to manifest the the life of your dreams, quite frankly. And I don't want to use like jargon and big buzzwords and shit like that, but whatever it is that your heart, your soul desires, right? It The way to truly materialize and maintain it is by knowing your divinity. And if you want to come play with me, I can help you um, get it. Okay. So the metaphysical makeover is my VIP in-person offering. And then the mastermind is completely virtual. We're still going to diagnose your soul wound. We're still going to treat it. It's going to be done virtually. And you'll have 3 months with me to integrate um, and implement and assimilate the metaphysical principles and tools, so that the intention is that at the end of 3 months or within that 3 month time frame, you are unrecognizable to yourself. Okay, so you become the you of your greatest dreams. You fulfill your soul's desire to experience the best of everything. You fulfill your soul's desire to express its uniqueness and beauty and love and all the fun stuff that we human beings were literally made to do. Okay? All right. So, any questions that you might have about working with me or any of this that I've shared with you here today, you're welcome to pop those in the comments. Let me check the Okay, cool. So, hey, is it Beautiful Cheyenne 12 on YouTube? Thank you for joining me. I just now saw your comments. I'm glad you are picking up what I'm putting down over here and feeling the vibes, and it's resonating with you. And I appreciate your chats and joining in. It creates a really cool energy when we interact with each other. So thank you for your participation. I love it. Love, love, love it. All right. Again, if you have any questions, now would be the time in this live broadcast to ask them. And if you're watching this some other time when it's not live and it's recorded, same thing. Drop a comment, put something there in the chat, and actually it won't be chat when it's not live, but comments, and it'll come through. I'll get the email. I'll see what you're saying, and I'll circle back. All right. So take a drink of water, and if there aren't any comments now, then we'll get straight into metaphysical prayer. You guys know I'm super passionate about metaphysical prayer. Ooh, I need to put fewer minerals in my water. Damn. All right. So, okay, so I do have a question from Beautiful Cheyenne 12. And the question is, how do I stay grounded? I love this question because, right, we live in a world that is like not grounded for the most part. And yet there are all these tools like yoga and meditation and affirmation tracks, and we could go for walks in nature. There's all these things that we can do to sort of ground ourselves. And it seems like it's fleeting, right? It's like, okay, I went to yoga and I meditated. I even went for a walk today, but here I am, it's 3 o'clock, and now I'm like, feeling ungrounded again. Like, what the fuck? Right? So to answer your question, Beautiful Cheyenne, how do I stay grounded? Girl, I got one answer for you. Know your divinity. And I know that's maybe a little bit of a, what is it, a loaded answer, not a loaded question, but a loaded answer, because the answer that you're looking for, the solution that you are seeking, is inside. It's not going to come from doing something, another practice, another affirmation, another tip or tool to help your you're wounded, right? And all have, the way that I talk about it in my world, we all have a soul wound that, while it appears as something that has to be overcome or fixed or healed, it actually needs to be recognized as divine, like a part of the divine blueprint of our humanity. So, when I say all of these things that we can do to stay grounded are still only addressing the level of our wounded identity. So we aren't actually getting to the truth of who we are, and we're just like fucking slapping a band-aid on it, which is why it doesn't work for very long. And then we're looking for the next tool or tip or practice or technique to create some sense of groundedness, some sense of centeredness, right? But all of that is to appease or satisfy the wounded identity. Okay. And that's my way of talking about our ego. And there's nothing wrong with the ego or the wounded identity. They're simply parts of our humanity. They're aspects of our humanity that are by design for us to recognize and actualize our divinity. Okay. So let me put it this way: without the dark, we couldn't know the light. Without the experience of cold, we couldn't know the experience of warmth. Okay. Without the experience of fear, we couldn't know love, right? Because if we were just all love, if we only knew love, which is God's essential nature, is infinite, eternal, open, spacious love, right? And the whole reason you and I exist and the physical world that we live in exists is so that God could know what it's like to be God's self, love. And the only way that it could do that was with some contrast, right? Was with something that's not love, that's unlike love. Okay. So again, the wounded the wounded identity, that which you consider yourself to be, and I say you, it's me, it's all people, right? We consider ourselves to be these physical bodies, like, oh, I'm 6 foot tall and I'm a blonde and I have this past and I have this role currently and I am, all of these things, when in fact, I am not those things. I am the observer of those things. I'm the witness of those things. I am the experiencer of those things. But I am is infinite, eternal, and in fact, divine. Okay? I am that I am. The most and only thing we need to know from the Bible. Well, that and you are, I am, we are that I am. Okay? All right, so I hope that answered your question. I know it probably wasn't the simple 3-step formula or whatever, like go do this now, that you might have been looking for. And I'm sorry, girl. It literally, um, to be grounded consistently, which doesn't mean that you don't experience the chaos from time to time, but to have a sort of default setting of groundedness in this chaotic world, we actually have to know our divinity. So come play with me, join the mastermind, or hit me up about doing a VIP day in the metaphysical makeover with me. All right. I thank you for being here, by the way. I love it. And I appreciate you for your questions and your comments. Really, I do. So thank you. All right. So again, if you have any other comments or questions, I will circle back. Maybe I'll send you a private message or answer them, just in the comments. We're going to get to metaphysical prayer now. And again, I'm just going to give you the highlighted version, the Cliff Notes, if you will, about the difference between traditional prayer and metaphysical prayer. In traditional prayer, we are asking God or the divine or the universe something that we perceive, consciously or not, we perceive it as outside of us. Something out there, up there, somewhere, not here, that can, if we're lucky, grant us what we're asking for, right? Answer our prayers. That's traditional prayer. And the flaw in that is that it separates you from your divinity, you from God, as another way to say that. And it implies that you aren't as, because you're separate, right, in that paradigm, because you're separate from the all, you may or may not get or deserve what you're asking for. Okay. So that shit is just fucking flawed, y'all. So we need to like not do that anymore and instead turn our attention to metaphysical prayer. So in metaphysical prayer, we first again recognize that we are divine creators. We are extensions, if you will, of the infinite, or children of God, sons of God is the way that it's talked about in religious terminology. And so, because that's true, from this truth of who we are, we recognize that whatever we're asking for, whatever we desire or require, is already ours. It's literally already existent, oftentimes in non physical form. Or another way to say that is in the quantum field. It exists, it just may not be in physical form in your hands or in your body or in your bank account right now. But in metaphysical prayer, we acknowledge that it exists. We acknowledge our divinity. We acknowledge the allness and the alreadiness of that which we are um, asking for in the physical world, in form. Okay, so we acknowledge and appreciate um, what it is that we desire. It's a whole other, like a whole other paradigm, quite frankly, the metaphysical perspective on prayer. And I use prayer, but like all of life, y'all. Okay, so let's now get into some metaphysical prayer. I want to invite you, and by the way, I don't use a whole lot of words. Like I'm not in traditional prayer that people do for other people. It's like, thank you, Father, for this and that. Thank you for blessing my bank account, your bank account. Thank you for blessing their body. Thank you for healing them, and so on and so forth. Like that's a lot of times what it sounds like. I don't use a whole lot of words. I trust you to know your desire, and my little my little instructions for how to metaphysically pray, right, is appreciation for your divinity, appreciation for the allness that you are a part of, the appreciation for the existence of your desire. I'm repeating myself here, but I'm really trying to drive this shit home, y'all. And I trust you to know your desire and to be able to be silent, because that's also the most powerful way to connect to that quantum field of all that exists, right? And to recognize and realize through appreciation, through silencing that wounded identity and all of its egoic desires, to silence, to get still, to have the seed in your mind and let it drop, let it descend into the fertile soil of your heart, and then call forth the feeling of thank you, of love, of yesness to what already is. You got a beating heart? You're watching this? Your heart is beating? You have everything you need. Okay? So use that gift, that powerful fucking gift, and call forth whatever you desire in metaphysical prayer. Okay? All right, so let's get to it. I know this hair is crazy. It is what it is. All right, so I just take a couple of breaths to soften what's gripping in my body, my face and my brain. I've been talking, so I just take a few deep breaths. You can join me. It feels good. Soften the muscles of your face, soften your jaw and your tongue. Maybe swallow and relax your throat. Let your brain just sort of settle inside the basin of your skull. And let the idea, the one word, the two words, the single sentence, whatever it is, keep it short and succinct. The desire, the seed, the ask or the requirement that you have. You may even imagine, you may have just a moment of seeing it with your inner vision. If not, no big deal. Just get a clear idea, word, thought, sentence, or image of what it is you require or desire. Good. And now, as you start to appreciate, thank you for that which you desire. Thank you for the money in my bank account. Thank you for my jeans fitting mighty fine. Thank you for waking up next to my lover. Thank you. Whatever it is that you require or desire, thank you. Right? We're thanking God. We're thanking the allness, the isness, because it already exists. We're seeing it, we're appreciating it, acknowledging it. Thank you for the 25 grand deposited into my bank account. Thank you. Whatever it is, we're thanking it. And as we're thanking it, we're letting it sort of descend to settle into that fertile soil of our hearts. And now I'm just going to shut up and I want you to feel its presence now. Feel the joy, feel the love, feel the excitement, whatever comes up, feel its presence. Hmm. Yeah, thank you. So you guys can continue on with this prayer, this magic, this reason we were born, if you like. But I'm going to go ahead and conclude today's service um, and say you're welcome to ask questions, or if you want to come play more deliberately in the world of metaphysical mastery with me, well, then send me a message and I'll be in touch. All right, you guys, have a beautiful evening and I'll talk to you later. Bye.